Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast. And welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
This happened pretty recently. I live in a pretty nice suburb, next to an elementary school. Me and 3 other friends, I'll call them Anthony, Johnny, and Kevin for online purposes, skate all around the city, even making a day of going out of this city to the next. Mind, I live in North Texas. Not too far from my house is a small forest. Not too big, maybe a square mile. There's some old trails along the outside you can walk along, but nobody really goes further into it. So that's the backstory about the area. Me and my 3 other friends always liked poking around dark, spooky areas. In the summers we would go into the sewers and walk them for hours, etc. We were pretty adventurous. One day about mid-November, Kevin told me he was on Google Maps, looking for someone's house, unrelated, and said he saw a clearing in the woods and a roof to something. Anthony lives the closest to the woods, so me and Kevin went to go get Anthony, since we were going to the woods anyway. Johnny and Anthony hang out a lot, so Johnny was already at Anthony's house. From Anthony's house it's about a 5-minute walk to the woods. Anthony grabbed an empty backpack and put 2 flashlights, a big paint knife, and his homemade shiv, he called it. It was essentially a sharp piece of metal wrapped in masking tape. I'll add that you can slide a paint knife into the cracks of doors and jimmy them open. After the 5-minute walk to the edge of the woods, it was about 10 minutes finding the house. We got the clearing after about 10 minutes and a little bit of arguing. It was really run down. There was an old car there, it looked like it was from the 60s. But anyway, the front of the house was facing the opposite of where the suburb was. Kind of weird, but whatever. The back door was barely hanging on its hinges, so Kevin just gave it a weak kick, sending dust and bits of wood everywhere. It was 3 o'clock, so the sun was still giving off some light to the area. We split into pairs. Me and Johnny went upstairs. The stairs were cracked and broken, so we went one at a time to make sure nothing broke. Upstairs were 2 rooms. A girl's bedroom from the chipping pink paint on the door, I guess. But no bed. I guess whoever moved out took everything. And then the bedroom led to an empty room, pretty much bare. After looking around upstairs and taking a few pictures with my phone, iPhone 4, me and Johnny went back downstairs to see what Kevin and Anthony were doing. They were taking pictures of a pretty empty kitchen. Just some counters were there and an old oven. They said they were only at the kitchen and wanted to wait on us to check out the rest of the house. The living room was bare. No couches, coffee tables remained. Just an old fireplace, pic-related, it's the fireplace, and loose planks on the ground. There were 2 other rooms, the one, I'm sure it was a dining room. There were some old, cracked plates on the ground, and a few broken chairs. No table though. The other was a bathroom. Just a toilet. I didn't notice a shower or bathtub in the house. Upstairs or downstairs. The toilet still had water in. Really stagnant, and it smelled like really old shit. I remember it being me, Kevin, and Johnny checking out the bathroom. Anthony shouted to come here, I found some shit. Anthony said he dropped his phone taking a picture, and when he picked it up, he saw, like a trapdoor or something. Him and Kevin cleared the planks and, holy shit, it was a trapdoor. Picture related. It's the trapdoor, it took a few minutes trying to get it open. By then the sun was already starting to set. We were too excited about the trapdoor to worry about going home. Finally, Johnny got the door open. It sent a whole bunch of dust everywhere. Anthony pulled out one of the flashlights and got a look down. There was a ladder leading down into a concrete basement. I went first with the other flashlight. I set it down and everyone else filed down the ladder. Holy shit, the basement smelled awful. I've only smelled dead animals before, but I know this wasn't the smell of a dead animal. It had to be a person. There was a black, oily kind of goo on the ground, and I think candle wax. After everyone piled down, Anthony saw something shiny behind a table. Now the table picture freaked everyone out. It was blood. We all knew it. Anthony picked up a small necklace. I never saw anything shiny, but I guess I wasn't at the right angle. The necklace was really weird. It was a pentagram with an eye in it. Anthony lost it in his room, so I can't get a picture from it. The sun was setting, and it got pretty dark. We all got out of the basement and left. We exited out of the front door and started making our way around back to leave. I saw it first, a small figure in the light of the setting sun. It was really tall. At least a foot taller than Anthony. He was about 6'2". I whispered everyone to look and be quiet. I guess he and it saw us too, and then screamed. It was like someone growling in G major. We've all tried making that noise, but we can't come close. We all ran to Anthony's house and went our separate ways after that.
When I was a kid, I would visit my grandparents' house every weekend. They lived in a huge house just outside of town. I was riding my bike there looking forward to seeing my grandma when I noticed two other kids riding bikes in front of me, heading in the direction of my grandparents' house. I tried to catch up to them, but the faster I pedaled the faster they seemed to go. They were always about 15 feet ahead of me. I continued onward, still unable to gain any distance on the two kids. When I could finally see my grandparents' house, I see the two kids on their bikes turn into the driveway. I thought maybe they knew my grandparents or something like that. When I pulled up into the driveway, I looked around for the kids' bikes. I didn't see them anywhere. I left my bike on the lawn and went up to the door. I knocked, like I always do, then let myself in. Grandparents never locked their door. I said, "Grandma, Grandpa, I'm here." No response. I went out back to see if they were in the backyard. They weren't. I went back inside and started looking for them. When I got upstairs, I started to feel scared. I smelled something terrible coming from the room I always slept in. As I got to the door, I felt something on my shoulder. It was the two kids from before, a young boy and girl, both around 10 years old. The boy said, "Anon, you don't want to go in there." I told them it was my room and asked them if they knew where my grandparents were. The girl said, "Anon, you really don't want to go in there." I screamed, "Where are my grandparents?" I looked back and both the kids were gone. I opened the door and saw both my grandparents dead on the floor. I froze. I couldn't move away. I just stood there, transfixed at the sight of their lifeless bodies. I don't know how long I was standing there, but eventually the police showed up and found me. He asked if I was the little boy who called him. Both the police and my parents questioned me about what happened. The police officer in particular wanted to know if I called him. I had already told him no, but he said it must have been me since I was the only one there. A few weeks later, I went back there with my parents to organize stuff for the estate sale or something like that. My mom asked me to go through some old photos and she said I should find and keep a picture of my grandparents to remember them by. I went through the albums and was shocked when I came upon a photo of the two kids I saw that day. On the back of the picture it had the name of both my grandparents, aged 11 and 10. Evidently, they grew up next door to each other and got married right after high school. As soon as I saw the picture I broke down and cried. My grandparents tried to stop me from finding their bodies, and I believe it was my grandfather's ghost who called to report the bodies.
Posted this after reading multiple stories of the Goat Man/Skinwalker, which really gave a childhood story of mine a scary twist. We lived in a small village, like 500 inhabitants. Me and my cousin were at my grandma's house. We grew up in this house and could visit it whenever we wanted because we were all living in the same village. I think we were 8 years old or something. There was a small forest just across the street. It really wasn't big and even had houses at two sides of it, even going into the forest, but still big enough so you could get away from anyone. We even had a tree stump in there that we hang out on for several hours a day if we felt like it, so we kind of knew the forest. So we were playing hide and seek in the sunset. We did this a lot and we knew there were foxes and maybe boars in this forest. So, I found one of my cousins and we went to find the other one. We heard some sound that sounded like a boar pawing the ground because you could hear the leaves and shit make noises, but still we called out to our cousin if that's him. I can't remember the exact noises we then heard. We just looked at each other and I swear I never ran this fast in my life. Till this day we sometimes get back to this story and always think it was some boar. But what really feels weird now, and I never really thought of it until now, I was running like I never ran before and I looked back once and my cousin was right behind me, telling me to wait for him. Of course, I didn't because I was so full of adrenaline and running at full speed. After a 200-meter sprint I arrived at my grandma's house and my cousin was already there. We were both out of breath and laughing at what just happened. But until now I never really wondered how he got there first. I always thought he cut the last corner and ran through the forest while I stayed outside of it and ran the long way on the dirt road. I'm getting goosebumps when thinking back to this shit right now. Really gives it a weird feeling.
B5. Visiting grandma. She takes me to the park. Play with kid my age. You can call me Satan. Never see his parents. Tell mom I can't go to the park anymore. He probably heard the name and thought it was cool. B7. Live with grandma cause parents divorced. Climb upstairs. 3 mannequins in grandma's room. Nope. Annan watches too much TV. B9. Mom doesn't let me watch much TV cause it makes me see things that doesn't exist. 2 a.m. watching TV with mom in grandma's room waiting for my sister to get home. Shadow with pointy head, tall as the ceiling, passes in front of the door. Tell mom. Bang. She thinks someone got into our... Look around. Nothing on the floor. Mom starts to believe. B10. Watching TV in grandma's room. Take a look at the mirror. Girl sitting on the other side of the bed. Pale as snow, wearing a white dress. Get the fuck out of the room. Saw her other 4 times and it simply stopped. B12. Mom goes to the neighbor's house. Watching Nickelodeon. Start hearing noises. Get scared. Door handle had been failing lately, gets stuck and doesn't turn. It gets stuck and can't open. Hear footsteps approaching. Close eyes and start crying. Mom finds me crying behind the door. B12-ish. 10:30 p.m. Finished dinner before the rest. I'm tired, I am going to bed now. Laying on bed. Hear mom and sister coming upstairs. They stop at my doorstep. Oh my god. Stay away from him. Mom literally crying. What the shit? Shitless scared. Turn to see what's behind me. Huge shadow behind me. Jump out of bed and hug my mom. Look back, there's nothing. Sister insists it was all a shared dream, never talk about it again. Mom opens a business, so I stay home alone most of the summers. Staying home alone is hell, but mom already has too much troubles to worry about her crazy son. Lock myself in the room. Footsteps start downstairs. They start to get closer and closer. Can hear each stair step crack. They suddenly stop and start back again from downstairs. Chairs change places and I can literally hear how they are being pushed around. This happens every day. 14 yo. Tickling noise from grandma's room. Tired of this shit. Brave enough to go out. Open grandma's door. Grandma's crucifix collection is gently rocking on the wall, producing the sound. I see us off and windows are closed. You fucking win. Get back in my room and don't come out. Hearing noises becomes part of my daily life and ignore it most of the time. Politely ask it to leave me alone whenever I hear footsteps. B15-ish. Home alone as always. Late at night. Go take a piss. Bathroom's light bulb burns out when I turn it on. Pee in the dark. Go back to my room. Light bulb also burns out. Go to sister's room. Light bulb also burns out when I turn it on. Fuck you, then get in grandma's room until family gets home. Still 15. Making sandwich at night. Grab dish from the cabinet. Turn around. All dishes in the cabinet are now on the floor. Pick them up and get the fuck back to my room. Only time whatever was in my house got aggressive. I still have a couple more stories, but I don't know if you want to hear them. By the way, sorry for the crappy diction and poor vocabulary. Do you want to hear them? I moved to my uncle's house for a couple of months. Mom calls me one night. Your sister will go pick you up tomorrow morning. Okay, hangs up the phone. Next morning. Annan, things have been happening since the day you left, and you have to tell me what did you do in that room? I didn't do anything, I swear. Room is too cold so they keep the door closed. Mom can hear whispers during the night. She insists someone plays with her hair every night. Her and Grandma wake up every night at 3 o'clock for no apparent reason. This used to happen to me often too. Mom moved with one of my great aunts because she can't sleep anymore. Grandma stays because she don't believe in ghosts. 1 month after that, lame family reunion. Grandma says she wants to talk to me. Grabs me by the arm and says, "Listen to me, Annan, and listen to him carefully. I don't know what you did in that house, and I don't care if you don't believe in God, but you started something that is getting out of hand. I was praying the other night, and something blew in my ear and left, and it's not the first time it happens. Let's go my arm. Religious family, we pray every get-together. Same reunion. They all are getting ready to pray. Mom, Annan, please come pray with us." "No, I don't want to, Grandma, this kid." "Uncle's talking shit. Get mad. Would you please shut the fuck up?" All lights in the house go on when I say that. Everyone freezes. All eyes on me. Nothing has happened in the last 2 years, though.
I had a stalker once in an apartment which had 4 exits, one of which I had no access to. Old building. Crappy maintenance. Landlord who wasn't up to code and wasn't around, etc. Some creep used to stand outside one of my doors late at night and run off when I'd go to the door. Did I mention the shitty building with paper-thin walls? Landlord didn't care, and I assumed it was a drug addict or something. Eventually I woke up at night, thought a rodent was at one of the exit doors to the downstairs area, but as I got closer I realized someone was unscrewing the screws to the doorknob. I watched 2 screws drop to the floor, the entire doorknob fall off. It was shoddy as shit, and instinctively I chose fight instead of flight, so I slammed my hand against the door as hard as I could while bending over and stared into the hole where the doorknob was, where another I met mine. Called the police, they didn't find anyone as usual, couldn't really do anything. Time goes by and I am scared shitless. Time went by and I couldn't shake the feeling that this person was more than just an attempted burglar. I eventually decided to really grill the maintenance guy who, because he was the only one with keys to my apartment, even though he brushed me off before. He was a mentally ill guy who always weirded me out and said inappropriate stuff. So, I asked him a ton of questions and finally get around to really pressing him and demanding he tell me if he's ever seen anyone trying to get into my apartment. That's when he said, "What, your girlfriend?" I freaked out. I have no girlfriend. I had a flood of thoughts and suspicions, starting with suspecting this guy. I initially had a rush of thoughts like if this guy was the person doing this, or what the fuck he was talking about. Convo passed and I almost hysterically questioned him, and he got around to realizing I had no idea what he was talking about. That's when he said he thought the crazy woman in one of the apartments was my girlfriend, and he had been letting her into my apartment for a long time when I was away. My body went cold. Every time I found hair that I didn't think could have been me or anyone I had over in my bathroom, every time I thought food was missing, every time I thought things were moved a little. I ignored it all, but it was her. This batshit crazy woman who I thought was a shut-in was telling people in the complex that I was her boyfriend, about fights we supposedly had, and all sorts of shit. The stuff I was hearing outside my doors at night was her. And she was inside my apartment whenever I'd leave. I called the police and left. Had to deal with a scumbag landlord, mentally ill maintenance guy, and the cops with no results except for getting out of my lease. She stalked me for a year. She had details of an ongoing relationship for an entire year, she told other tenants. She shared all my private spaces by lying to the half-retarded maintenance guy. and that night she was removing the doorknob. I think she was going to hurt me. I'm not going to CSI answer questions on this. This was real. It's not paranormal. It gets worse than I've typed, but I don't want to go through all the shit before I realized I had a stalker. And now that I've posted this, I'm done because this shit horrifies me to this day, and this is my limit for thinking about it.
That is some spooky shit, bro.
Yeah. The worst stuff is real. Ghosts are spooky because they are unknown, but when you actually think about or go through the shit that can happen with people and whatever, you realize that the paranormal isn't the creepiest stuff out there. People can get completely screwed in the head, and what they do just doesn't make sense, but they do it, and they can spend insane amounts of time doing it. Humans can become monsters, and they can hide in plain sight. The person-turned-monster I experienced did a lot of shit, all of which I dismissed as something else, because I was just so intent on living my life and being logical about stuff. I never even believed someone would do that, so I always assumed it was mice, rodents, etc., and even when I was certain someone was standing outside my doors late at night, I told myself it was just a junkie or whatever. It was every day for a year. The mice weren't mice. There never was any junkie. My stuff was moved any time I went away, usually twice a month. The bangs I felt under my floorboards, it was her in the bottom floor, inaccessible area, except for from her apartment, slamming up to mine. The loud bangs waking me up weren't neighbors being generally loud at night, it was her trying to wake me up. Man. I moved out of there but almost had a total breakdown after realizing how much stuff happened. I lost like 20 pounds and felt sick to my stomach for an entire month. For an entire year this monster was obsessed and involved with my life. I dealt with it as I could, but a police sergeant who sympathized said that they needed more to do anything. I was less concerned with getting justice and more concerned with getting free and safe, so got what I could get done, getting out of lease obligations, getting last month and security rent back, no extra fees or bills from the scumbag LL, and left. For all I know she still lives there, and might be stalking a new tenant.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more Greentext will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.